This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
The year was 1977. Star Wars was the #1 movie in the country. Jimmy Carter was president. And interest rates were what? What were they at, Clark?
About 21%.
21%. So
what?
So in the studio today, we have Clark Broom. He's an agent with eXp Realty, and he is going to talk about what his career has looked like, because he's been doing this since 1977.
You weren't even born in 1977.
I wasn't even born. I don't even know if I was itching my daddy's pants in 1977.
Whoa.
But
this is a family-friendly show, Johnny.
So it is. That's what, it's all about growing the family, too. So in 1977, what were interest rates, Clark?
They were about 21%.
That's it?
I had just started real estate, and so I had 4 deals in escrow.
Wow.
Rates went way up with Jimmy Carter in office. I remember sitting watching him on television with a cardigan, sweater, in front of a fireplace, saying things are tough. We need to all cut back and all this kind of stuff, which was counterintuitive to me.
Yeah.
And so I was able to save 2 of those deals. And got really, really good at creative financing, assumptions, wraparounds, all these kind of tools we used back then just to survive in the industry.
Wow. So it was 21%. And what did a house cost? Like 2 apples and a...
Well, my very first house was $21,000.
$21,000.
Yeah,
where was that house? Where?
I was actually over before Antelope Woods was built, the old section of Antelope. And this was right after the Roseville train blast, if anybody remembers that.
I don't.
And so Antelope was pretty much not destroyed, but damaged very heavily during the train blast. So it no longer was an incorporated city. The house that we moved into, my mom was very successful in real estate. So as a wedding gift, gave us the down payment on the house that we bought.
That's a good mama.
Yeah.
What was the down payment?
Down payment was, it would have been FHA at the time. So I think like 3%, something like that. So less than $1,000 we got into the house. And
$1,000 down payment.
It was crazy. And
what was your annual income, though? Like ballpark?
Annual income, if I remember right, I was making like, $6.75 an hour or something like that, working for Cordova Chemical, which is a division of Aerojet.
Okay.
And I was part of a union, AFL-CIO union. And so our income, maybe like $10,000 a year, something $12,000 a year.
Yeah, so 1080, so 1,080 hours at $675 is $7,200-$7,300. So if you're picking up OT, getting some overtime.
Yeah, so we'd picked up a lot of overtime because I worked shift work. So it was really crazy. The place I worked at did what they called the Midwestern swing, which is days. So it's 7 days on, 3 days off, 8 days on, 4 days off. And then they switch us from days, swing shift to graveyard in between those. And that's where I really learned to work with a calendar. Yeah. So the graveyard, of course, paid us a premium when we were on the graveyard shift. Yeah.
Got it. And so you were working for Aerojet.
Yes.
And then you were doing night classes to get your real estate license?
Yeah, it's I share, my mom was very successful in real estate. She was the #1 realtor of the year several times, citizen of the year.
Wow.
I think she was the first lady board president of the Placer Association of Realtors. And so I grew up in that environment. But I was 19, when there was a lot of success, and I really resisted it. Then I got married.
You resisted real estate, or
resisted real estate? Yes.
Okay.
And because she was working 24/7, basically, a lot of hours. She was always there for the important things. She was a great mom. Raised 6 children.
Wow.
My father was killed in a car accident when I was 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
And she had just gotten real estate like a year earlier. And so she just ramped it up and just really supported all of us, a nice lifestyle. So I saw how hard she worked, and I was having too much fun. 19 years old, no cares in the world. I was racing
live forever.
Yeah, I was racing motocross, having a good time, racing pro a little bit.
Wow.
And then got married, had our first child, and I was working at Cordova Chemical. I worked in aerial survey, worked in landscaping, building swimming pools as I was a kid. With a pool company, and then was working at Cordova Chemical. Then I realized I started looking at people who were there 5 or 10 years longer than me.
Yeah.
And not a put down or anything. It just wasn't for me. I didn't want that life. And so at that time, real estate was booming pretty good. It was before Carter. It was booming pretty good. So I said, I'm going to go to real estate school. And because of my shift work, I could do that. And the real estate school was right over here off of Arden Way. It was Anthony School of Real Estate. and went ahead and got my real estate license.
Okay.
And back then, companies wouldn't accept part-time agents. You had to
really?
be full-time. Had to be full-time.
Let's bring that back.
Yeah, I agree. And had to be full-time. So I went from a pretty decent income, I mean, it was high hourly wage, to 100% commission overnight.
Wow.
And
So you just burned the boats and said, I'm all in.
I burned the boats, jumped in 100%.
Wow.
Went to a small company, Dimension Real Estate. Some very good friends. In fact, I just saw Rick Nito just recently. He was one of the brokers of the company, along with Barney Jones and Bob Whalen. And it was just Robert Wagner. So all those owned Dimension Real Estate right on Auburn Boulevard in Citrus Heights, and really kind of cut my teeth there. And so I really worked hard, but starved for the first 12 to 18 months.
Yep.
My mom took me out to dinner a lot, took our family out to dinner.
Did she give you any deals?
Yeah.
Did she give you any deals?
None.
Not one?
No,
There you go.
She was working hard in real estate herself, and still had a lot of things to support my younger brothers and sisters. And so I just and she gave me a lot of advice, and she was an amazing agent. And in fact, I wish she was around today. With the business models we have today, she had been a rock star in it. And so proceeded that, and then started getting some traction and started doubling my income every year. I changed companies, went over to Sacramento Realty, which was a franchise.
So as you were growing, what were you doing? Like, what was working for you then to double your income?
Just a lot of hard work. I mean, I did open houses. I never did a farm area. I just felt, for me, knocking on doors just wasn't my thing.
Okay.
I didn't like people coming to my door.
Yeah.
And so I never did that. A lot of floor time, did a lot of open houses. And honestly, I was so tuned into real estate, I could hear the word real estate at 50 yards. I mean, so when somebody, like, we'd be at dinner, it drove my wife a little nuts, but it was dinner, I could hear the word real estate, my ears would perk up, and I'd go there, and I'd just say, I couldn't help overhear you're saying that you're looking for real estate. When I'm a realtor here locally, I'll work really hard for you. And I develop clients that way.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So you'd be out to dinner and
everywhere.
So you still do that?
So it was date night.
Yeah.
It was date night and prospecting all
That's
in
right.
one.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, love that.
Yeah, it drove my kids nuts too as we got older.
Yeah,
too, so.
It's come full circle, right? Mom was working hard and it was driving you crazy, and now you're the one driving the kids crazy.
That's right.
There you
Absolutely.
go. So what do you think it takes in today's market? So that, I mean, if you were an agent today, if you were starting over today, what would you suggest?
Number one is the effort never changes. I mean, to be successful, what they call 10,000 hours of mastery.
Yep.
You've heard, I forget.
Seth Godin, I think.
Yeah,
says
Seth
it.
Godin said that. Or Gadwell. Gadwell, I think.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Gladwell.
Yeah.
10,000 hours of mastery. However you get the quicker you go through those 10,000 hours, the more successful you'll be.
Yeah.
So I'd say today, boy, the technology is the biggest change. The principles are always the same. I mean, we service our clients. We build organizations that service our clients. We put the clients first. All that, those principles are all the same. And but the technology we have today, what we used to, because I mean, really, we ran newspaper ads. We
Wait, what's a newspaper?
Yeah, I know, exactly. You have to Google it. But, so we'd put newspaper ads out on our properties, and we'd have a lot of signs out. We'd pass out cards. I had a stack of flyers for every listing I had. Everywhere I went, I passed out those flyers. Whether it was at the multiple listing meetings or I'd stop by a real estate office, pass out my flyers. I just was networking.
Yep.
And so today, we just do that digitally.
Sure.
And I think that number one thing I would recommend agent, because we're working with a lot of new agents right now, is take whatever time it takes and build a database.
I agree.
Start out with a CRM. We use KV Core, which is excellent. I'm sure there's a lot of other ones, but that's the one we're focused on. And just build that database. And then do geo farming, where you pick an area that you want to kind of dominate and just start, building relationships there. You can do that digitally. You can do that through several touches on a monthly basis to your clients in that area. And then as you're out, I would also highly recommend, and I know Brent Gove, just a mentor of mine, really, really focuses on open houses.
Yes.
Because you're opening up your office. And I recommend even during the week, just call it your office.
Absolutely.
And you're and then from those clients you get off of open houses, you put them in your database, and you keep those touches, because whatever the statistics are, how many people buy homes, was it every 5 years now?
5 years, 7 years, yeah.
5 years to 7 years. Well, if you had 300 people in your database, what divide 5 into that, and you can kind of figure out what your lead source would be on a yearly basis.
As long as you stay in touch.
Yeah, you got to stay in touch.
Yeah. So you hit some golden nuggets. I just want to circle back on. Number one, the open houses.
Yes.
If you mentioned floor time, there's a lot of people probably listening to this right now. They don't even know what floor time is.
Floor time was gold.
It was gold.
Yeah.
Like when Val and I got started in a little, in Kalinga, floor time was valuable because it was the premier brokerage at the time in Kalinga. Maybe it still is. I don't know. I haven't been there in a while. But people would walk in and they were wanting to buy and sell houses.
Yeah.
Like they were high quality leads, but that just doesn't happen anymore. So if people aren't walking into real estate offices, you have to go to where the people are. And by doing that, you can achieve that through open houses.
Right. Through open houses. And then, of course, the social media today. One thing nice about, like KV Core, for example, is a CRM, and I'm sure a lot of CRMs do this, is you get a digital presence out there, whether it's on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn more business orientated. You just get your footprint out there, because you want to earn the title of My Realtor with your clients.
Yep.
My Realtor. And you treat your clients so well that, I sold a luxury property a couple of years ago with a very good friend of mine, my mentor in business, actually, for over 40 years.
Wow.
And we sold his house in Granite Bay, and I just really, stepped it up. And luxury, you really service your clients, you're there. And see, listings have babies.
Yep.
Because how well you do there, and how you interact with the clients that come through the property, and also the clients in the neighborhood that see what you're doing and how well you treated your client, you get referrals. So.
Absolutely. And the other thing you touched on that was really important is creating that database. So there's so many agents, I don't care if they've been doing this 1 year or a decade, they don't have a database. And so when we onboard people on our team, that's the first thing we do, is we help you create this database, and then we actually spend marketing dollars promoting you to your database.
That's right.
Because if you were to sell say you were a dentist and you were going to sell your practice, your dental practice, that database is essentially your medical practice's book of business.
Yep.
So that's your book of business. If you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you are in financial services, if you own an auto repair shop and you have clients that come in, that database is your book of business.
That's right.
And so if you don't have that, you're really missing the boat on building a sustainable business in today's marketplace.
Yeah. And it's staying in contact with that database, as you mentioned. It's like you can have a database, but if you're not connecting with them on their birthdays or anniversaries, special times, then the database isn't working for you.
Yeah, they forget about you.
Yeah, they forget about you.
I tell people all the time, my own mother, who is probably the show's best listener, by the way, I heard the new episode. I heard the new Mom, it just dropped. It just dropped 30 minutes ago. How'd you listen to it already? I listened to it at 2.5 times the speed, and I know when it comes out. But what she was even doing for a while was she was referring business to other agents in other markets. And I was like, Mom, I can help you with that.
That's right.
So just that you have to stay in touch, even with the people who you think are in your corner, and maybe they are, but they just don't even know that you're able to support people in other markets or support people in other towns.
Yeah.
And you just got to stay top of mind.
Yeah, and you got to promote yourself to them. In a not boastful way, but mentioning, hey, this is what I do. Here's how I can help you. Here's a network we have all over the country in 24
countries.
Foreign countries. So just let them know that. And one of the great things that I we teach our agents now is that because your clients, one of them may be a doctor, may have a an office, and they may be looking to relocate, and they may ask you, do you do commercial real estate? The answer should always be yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we have like Paul Frank is one of our commercial business partners. You can partner with him, and that way you keep it in the family. Because Paul always says this. He says one thing for sure, that every property I deal with in commercial, one thing they all have in common: they all have a house. They all live somewhere.
They all dealt with a real estate agent.
Absolutely.
And so when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about how you grew your career and how at one point you even had at least one plane?
Yeah, I actually had, I've owned 3 planes, but I had 2 at one time.
All right, we'll talk about that when we come back.
Great.
Mike, I know a lot of people feel this way, including myself, the stress you feel taking care of aging parents. And it feels so good when somebody comes along to help. Like, for instance, Emily needed to sell her dad's home in Rockland in order to pay for his assisted living facility. She called up our good friend Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty. They were able to sell his home in less than 30 days, enabling Emily to have the needed funds in her timeline. They were also able to make the transition a smooth one for her and her dad.
They have a full staff dedicated to making your home selling process the easiest and most efficient it can be. And that's why they were voted the #1 team in Roseville for the last 3 years. So if you need to sell your home fast and get top dollar, you need to call Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty. Ask about their Bay Area marketing plan or how you can get multiple cash offers. Expect more, get more with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty, brokered by EXP. Just Google Made for More Realty today and get more for your home. License number 581837.